Painting in colour can be overwhelming. Let's face it, mixing colours is hard. In this video, we're putting all of that aside to focus on these 4 intensely dark colours. We'll be painting a set of monochrome portraits using gouache to focus purely on form and value. Here are some examples, showing how monochrome doesn't have to mean just black and white. Today, I'm going to show you my entire process, including a few tricks you can use to help you master values. We're going to be painting in a hardcover sketchbook from Strathmore with heavyweight tone tan paper. Now I've gone ahead and sketched the subjects for today, and I've used Mars Lumograph black pencils, which are similar to graphite but darker and less glossy. You normally don't need to draw this much for what's basically an underdrawing, but here I found myself enjoying the process and just got a bit carried away. Before we start painting, I'm going to just lighten them up a bit with a kneadable eraser. For the first portrait, we're using one of my favourite gouache colours, Perylene Black, which is a single pigment colour. And while it's called Perylene Black, it's really more of a green. Now for mixing different intensities across all of these portraits, I use titanium white. But first, I'm starting with the darkest tone, straight from the tube. This is an easy way to just get started without needing to think too much or do any mixing with white just yet. You can easily tell where the darkest areas are and just start straight away. I find this also helps to define the form, similar to how the sketch did, but now it's starting to become a painting rather than just being a drawing, if that makes sense. You don't need to worry too much about it being perfect at this stage. A lot of this initial paint will end up being painted over. I'm now starting to introduce some white to paint in the progressively lighter values. Getting the values right is one of the most impactful things you can do in a painting, but judging value can be difficult. Like with the subtle shifts of skin tones here, or even hair like this, which has highlights on a dark background, it's hard to judge just how bright those highlights should be. Also, when working intensely on a painting or drawing, we tend to get hyper-focused on the detail to the point where all you can see is the local contrast, making it difficult to see the big picture. One method of being able to cut through all of this is by using technology. By opening a reference image on a device, like I'm doing here on an iPad, you can use this to see the subject in different ways while you're painting. I'm using Affinity Photo here, but you could use any app for this. So, firstly, converting the image to black and white. This helps you see the image without distraction of colour. When doing this, you may need to make adjustments. Typically I reduce the red to about 30 to 40% for portraits. Now this is handy, but even with this, it can be hard to compare relative brightness across different non-adjacent parts of the picture. So another thing you can do to further simplify what you're seeing is to apply the posterize effect, which combines similar values into buckets, where similar values get put together. This is one way of simplifying what you're seeing, almost like digitally squinting. So if you're stuck or wanting to get an objective read on relative values, this can really help. Although it does remove subtlety, so you can't rely on this alone. And I would caution that, like with many tricks like these, if you rely on them too much, your art process can become formulaic, and honestly, if you need this all the time, I don't think painting is going to be much fun. But it is there as a tool when you need it. Now I've covered the whole figure with paint and roughly established the values, and now we can build up more layers and really lock in the final values that we want. Gouache lets you adjust and blend as you build up these layers, which is one of the best aspects of this medium. Although a challenge with gouache is that it changes values as it dries, which does take some time to get used to. Here, I'm adding some lighter values. And at this point, I also like to re-establish the darkest areas. What I'm painting now is more likely to be final, so I'm a bit more careful. But by this point, I'm also more warmed up compared to when we started the painting. I don't normally paint eyelashes, but I felt they were so prominent in the reference image that I did paint them in this case. Although I certainly didn't aim to paint every single one with accuracy. Normally you just want to give a hint of them, or else they can look a bit cartoonish and break the realism. Now to make the edges a bit less refined, I'm using water to blend and blur the edges here. Okay, now I'm just adding the final highlights, which is always a fun part at the end and just finishes a portrait nicely. And now, on to the next one. For this second portrait, I'm using Prussian Blue, which is another single pigment colour, and this time I'm going to mainly use an angled brush. Another thing I'm doing here is to first cover the subject with a dilute wash of a mid-tone I've mixed out of Prussian Blue with white and plenty of water. This is a good way to start that doesn't require a lot of thinking. You start by just covering up the raw paper, which helps prevent the colour of the paper showing through and can give you a better base for layering over. I'm also putting slightly thicker paint where the darker areas are, but this isn't necessary, and in some ways this was just me having fun and being impatient to start seeing this turning from a drawing into a painting. I'm once again starting with the darkest areas, and I love how deep in value this Prussian Blue is. Now I'm building up the progressively lighter tones, starting here with a mid-tone. Somewhere around this point, after taking a break and stepping back, I realise there's something off with the proportions or the anatomy, but I can't quite pinpoint it. So as another handy use of having an iPad nearby, I can quickly take a photo of my work in progress and overlay it on top of the reference image. Now in doing this, I can see a few things are off, most of which I'm okay with, but I can see that the ear and right side have been compressed and are too close to the center of the head. Also, I can see the lip is a little bit too much out of place. So since I'm still on my early layer of gouache, I can fix some of these areas. So I'm going to first redo the ear and right edge of the neck by defining some edges, then blocking in the form using a mid-tone. So now it's just a matter of building up the layers again. To make sure I'm getting the values right, even as they shift as they dry, I'm checking the mixes I've made on another piece of paper, letting them dry or using a hairdryer to speed this up, and holding them up next to the painting, just to help to be able to confidently lock in the values that I want. This painting ended up with a bit of an illustrative or cartoon quality, which I kind of like. I wasn't sure how I'd handle the beard, but I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. Okay, a few final touches and we're done. For the third portrait, I'm looking forward to trying out this rich and intense Dioxazine violet, which I've never used before. Once again, it's a single pigment colour. I've decided to use a pencil just to redefine the form which was painted over in the first portrait. Now this Dioxazine violet is just so deep, intense and chromatic. Unlike some purple colours you can buy, this one is more permanent and light fast. And you can already see how it just has an amazing intensity, which I'm sure is going to be great for a monochrome painting. I'm looking forward to painting the hair on this one. It should be easier than long strands of hair, although I don't have a lot of experience painting hair like this. Working on this painting actually reminds me of years ago when I visited the studio of late Australian artist Reg Campbell. I remember him in his signature beret, and his advice for starting out was to first master painting in one colour. He suggested burnt sienna for portraits. Now, years later, I've come to realise that he really was right. Working in monochrome is one of the best ways to hone your skills and truly understand value, no matter what your experience level. Now overall, I was pretty happy how this painting turned out, but I struggled a bit to decide just how light I'd make the midtones. I found myself reworking the cheekbone area quite a few times, which is really something I want to improve on, to not repaint areas as much and get better at committing to a colour or a shade of colour in this case. Okay, that's it. Like I said, I was pretty happy with this one. Alright, now on to the final portrait. This time we're using Sepia, which in this case is a mix of two pigments, an iron oxide brown and the same black that Holbein used for their ivory black. For this one, I'm again starting with a dilute wash of midtone. In hindsight, this was probably less necessary than for the others, since the hue of this colour is a bit similar to that of the tone tan paper. But on the other hand, I find I enjoy gouache painting when you're building up layers of paint, and, well, this is the initial layer. With the underlying sketch, I struggled to get the position of the eyes right, so here I'm hoping it will come together when I paint them. For this painting, apart from those initial dark areas for which I used a round brush, I'm using a chisel brush that's somewhat wide, so my hope is I can use this to avoid getting too caught up in details. Painting this in sepia has that look of antique photos. I'd like to use this for more studies in future. But for me personally, there isn't quite enough contrast, especially compared with the others on this page. Even the sepia straight from the tube just isn't dark enough once it dries. So considering that black is already a component of this paint, I figure I can blend a little more black with the sepia to just make the darkest areas a bit darker. At first applying this, I wasn't quite sure. It seemed a bit conspicuous. But soon I decided that it did work well. I mean, I know what it looked like before adding this black, but the viewer of the final painting won't really notice. And here I'm adding a touch of pure black to the eyes, which is always a bit of a trick to make them pop with life. I'm pretty happy with this overall spread of portraits, and even though they are all monochromatic, using different colours on the one page has mixed things up a bit, and I like how they sit on this tone tan paper. I'm a big fan of colours like these where straight from the tube the value is so rich and dark. I hope to find more colours like this, and if you have a recommendation, let me know in the comments. As always, thank you for watching.